Hi there, this is Tam.
And I'm eternally mortal.
And this is the Hidden Egg Podcast, where we talk about vulnerability.
And stuff and things.
Yep.
Hey, welcome back. It's been a little while. There's been some hiatuses.
We got sick.
Yep. Amongst other things. And it gave us a little bit of time to really think about what we're doing here.
And to be dissatisfied with it.
Ultimately, as humans, we were dissatisfied with it. And so we're at a crossroads. Well, everyone is perpetually at a crossroads in every moment because you can do anything in the current moment. But we are at a crossroads with the podcast. We even have episode 9 of Erased still up, staring at us.
Yeah, so we were doing a react thing to Erased, and we got through the first 8 episodes very difficultly.
The first 2/3. And it's not that the show is bad or that we reacting to it was difficult. I think we've enjoyed the reactions. It's just that we don't have time. We don't have the time in the week to do reaction channel stuff.
Well, it's a combination of the amount of time we have available and the rate at which our available time progresses us through the series.
Right.
It feels a little ridiculous for a 12 episode series that each episode's only 22 minutes. So like when you do the math on that, how many hours is that? Like 6? No, it's less than 6.
Well, yeah, it takes 3 episodes to make up an hour, and so that's 4 hours.
It's a little over 4 hours to watch.
Yeah, 4 hours and like 8 minutes.
And not that we would be able to watch it. Excuse me. Not that we'd be able to watch it without having commentary, even if it was just you and me. But I have a feeling we could probably have gotten through this in 5 hours. Maybe 6 hours.
Without commentary, are you saying? Or with commentary?
With our typical commentary.
With our typical commentary, I'd probably give it like 7 or 8. I think we'd double the amount of time. But, that's fine.
Well, at this point, we're still over that.
Well
over that amount of time. Like, we were watching the Wheel of Time series, and, like, some of those episodes themselves were over an hour, but it took us, like, an hour and a half to 2 hours to watch.
Some of them more than that, yeah. Some of them we still doubled up on that, too. Like, we spent a lot of time talking. I have a lot of feelings about the Wheel of Time. I have a lot of feelings about everything.
But, like, for episodes that are 22 minutes, and there's only 12 episodes, so the entire thing I could binge in 4 hours. It just seems ridiculous for it to take 3 months of podcasts for us to get through.
Also, we ran into issues that caused a lot of breaks.
Even longer.
And so, it's like 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, we might have to... If we want to do reaction type content, we may need to change our format.
Yeah, I think going forward, the reaction stuff is going to have to either take a seat, in for the time being, or we'll have to do like one-off kind of stuff.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe spend a lot of time watching and reacting to content, and then spend a great deal of time after that editing it, and then release it.
But that doesn't help us from here. So from here we have 2 real possibilities that you mentioned earlier, that we're not going to do this today, obviously.
Mm-mm.
But they're for the next podcast, like where we're going from here. And one of those was that we could try to do one like straight shot, just watch all 4 episodes in one go in a giant episode.
Mm-hmm.
That, we then release all at once. We could also do like we've been doing and just try to suffer through and then just take a break in December. The downfall to both of those is that, like, doing the one shot, that's going to be exhausting.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be at least a good 2 to 3 hours of us watching and recording.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not including my part in editing and then uploading it and all that, which is fine if that's what we choose to do. But I'm not sure that that's necessarily the best choice.
Sure, absolutely.
And then the downfall of the other one is that, well, it's so hard to remember week to week what happened in the previous episodes and to stay engaged and excited about what we're watching. It's and then the motivation to be able to see it through for another month, to know that we won't reach the end until a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
That's just crazy.
I think that there's a middle ground of those as well, and that we could try and do 2 double episodes and, let it be long. And, if we're taking this episode that we're doing right now and we're just discussing how we feel about it and what our future holds and what our present holds, then, we could do 2 episodes where we do 2 episodes of the show each and make them a little hefty, but get through it. That means that the next time we do a race, we would know that the next time is the last time. And maybe that might help the motivation to get through it and finish it. If we feel like it's important to finish it, because it doesn't have to be.
Right, and that's the other side of it. Do we even bother finishing it?
Right.
There was a kind of middle ground one where I was going to say we could finish it off screen and then talk about it in an episode, talk about our impressions of the last 4 episodes. It's a different format than what we have had, but it's kind of a middle of the road of like, well, we don't have to necessarily do the watch time. I don't think anybody's coming into the channel to watch it with us, so it's all based on the recording. And since it's based on the recording, I don't know that we need to do it with the same format if people are just coming in to listen to it and listen to our reaction to it. So there's that one also. So I don't know which one. I feel like we're kind of bringing these up, putting them out in the air to see if maybe anybody has any thoughts about it. That
well, also us talking
listeners about of the podcast.
Right, listener input would certainly, if you have any free to input it in, absolutely would be great. But also just talking about it might help us jog some stuff loose. Like for instance, if we look at it, right, what we've been doing, the slow form of reacting to it has really given us the opportunity to pick apart this show and talk about every aspect that we've noticed for the most part, And if we were to watch all 4 episodes and then give an impression of how the last 4 went and everything, we're gonna miss details, which isn't necessarily a problem, but it is an aspect of what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, it is something that it'll lose taking that format.
Yep,
you're right.
So, but I mean, well, what do we get? What are we looking for here? What are we trying to do?
What do you mean?
Am I being too existential, maybe?
I don't know. I don't understand what you mean. Like, what are we getting out of the experience?
Kind of. Or what are we going for with the experience? Or, like, what can we target to shoot for?
Well, obviously, because we're a podcast about vulnerability, the general goal was to be vulnerable. But you're right. We haven't really defined something that we want to do with that vulnerability, which is kind of why this season has been just reacting to videos.
Right, exactly.
But you're right. From here on, like, we really should figure out what it is that we want to do with it, like what our end goal is. I thought, I could be wrong, but I thought we kind of had an inkling of an end goal of trying to just put vulnerability out there to show people that it's okay to be vulnerable and to try to help make people more comfortable
in vulnerability.
Yeah
I do want to promote being vulnerable, to being your true self out there, not hiding who you are and everything like that.
Right.
I do want that.
Right. But that's such a vague goal.
It is.
That's not a real goal. That's a mission statement.
Nah.
You know, and mission statements are important because those help you remember the reason why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, we do need a goal. We need something concrete that is a something we can work towards, something that we can create tasks to do to get there. Whereas, you know, the mission statement is supposed to be lofty and vague because, you know, there's a lot of different ways that could break down, and we have to be able to change the plan if something stops working. Mm-hmm. Like so.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want it to have a little bit more versatility as well. But you're talking about a concrete goal, and I'm struggling to even come up with an example at this particular moment, because what we're talking about is a concept, and I'm not sure what to point at and say that's what we want to accomplish. At least that's not for me. I can't really.
Well, can I kind of like sidestep for a minute? So I have other podcasts and other endeavors. So right now, most of what I'm trying to focus on is my Substack, which I'm working on self-care. Mm. And there's a sort of mission statement I have with it to build a foundation of self-care in my life so that I can build other things on top of it without destroying myself. Mm-hmm. But there is a very real goal in there that I want to, over time, kind of create articles. It's not really the articles that I care about, but they will eventually filter into when I get to the end, quote unquote, the end. So there's no real end to a self-care goal. But like when I get to the end of discussing all the different facets of self-care, I want to be able to put that into a book. Uh-huh. So my end goal with that particular Substack element is to write a book about the self-care journey. I don't know what kind of book it's going to be. I don't know why it's going to be special, what's going to set it apart from all the other books out there. That's the stuff that I think that the journey itself will help me realize and figure out. But the end goal, the concrete goal that I'm working towards, is creating enough information that I can eventually pull from to create a book.
Interesting.
So that's one way that, you know,
we could piggyback off of that and potentially make a book about vulnerability written by, you know, Tam and Mortal.
Maybe.
We have a lot of beginning content from the first season of this podcast. We talked a lot about the general aspects of vulnerability and stuff.
That still feels really vague because, like,
it was.
What's the book going to be about if we write a book about vulnerability? There's also Ghost has been watching a lot of Good Mythical Morning. They don't have a solid end goal. They have a goal for each episode. So a lot of their episodes end up being like, will it pla? Like, will it taco? Yeah. Will it pizza? Will it nachos? And that ends up being the goal for each episode. You know, they have episodic goals that bring them, you know, closer to their overall mission statement, which I think is just, you know, being entertaining.
Probably.
You know, yeah. Being themselves, being entertaining. They've created jobs by way of Good Myth. It used to just be them.
Yeah.
And now they have like a whole freaking team and spin-off channels, and it's been really amazing. But like, so their mission statement of entertaining people has become this whole like empire in a way. Mm-hmm. And but each episode has a goal, and I'm wondering if we can come up with something that has that feel to it. That would be cool too.
Sure. Yeah. It's a lot of ideas that I don't know I have at the moment.
Yeah.
I feel hard. I feel it's difficult for me to commit to that, but I love the idea of it. Certainly.
Well, let's think. What does vulnerability do? Like, what can you do with vulnerability? Especially something that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Crickets.
Crickets, indeed. Maybe we have the wrong concept for our show.
I don't know that it's the wrong concept. I just don't think that we've really dived into it far enough to gain a good understanding of what it is we want, what it is we want to do, what it is we're willing to do, what it is people want us to do, and find out where all those things meet
and coexist, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I do think that we should try to spitball some of those ideas, if not now, then over the next week or two, because I think we need to figure out what we're doing after whatever we're doing with Erased.
Right. Well,
for the next season.
Right. You know what a fun thing to do that's vulnerable is?
What's that?
Truth or Dare.
Oh, that's true. I should write that down. Well, I can write it down when I edit. I listen to the whole thing now.
This is recorded forever.
Yeah, it's recorded forever. So Truth or Dare, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But that one gets messy.
Well, it potentially does get messy, and we'd have to be able to come up with some pretty decent dares for things that we're not willing to be truth about, and also be willing to ask each other things that were, well, whatever. We could finagle it into a game show if we wanted to, but
so,
yeah.
I mean, along that line, what I'd really like to do is find some kind of, like, way to not gamify, but, like, sort of entertainify people writing in, like, their dirty little secrets anonymously. Like, I don't want to connect them to who they are necessarily, unless they want us to, but I feel like mostly it should be an anonymous thing.
Sure. And that may be fun.
And then we can talk about, you know, what our thoughts are about it, what may have led to it, you know.
We could just, you know, hypothesize about certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
We could have people that potentially write in twice and be like, y'all were so wrong. You have no idea
right.
what was going on. That'd be hilarious. But otherwise, it's basically just like spilling the tea, you know. That's just talking some
right.
tea right there. And so that's an interesting idea as well.
I also have an idea of so this one might not be as good of an idea, but it's you got to come up with a bunch of bad ideas before you get to a good one. So this So this idea is, you know how there's all those like comedians and YouTubers and everything that they come out and they're horrible people. Like they've been grooming teenagers into being their sexual partners, or
like actually doing this, or they're making comedy bits about this?
No, they're like doing it.
Okay, so there's comedians that have done terrible things. Yes, I'm aware that there's comedians that have done terrible things.
I mean, everybody. I said comedians and YouTubers. I was like just kind of saying like the
entertainers,
the entertainment industry in general. Like,
has a lot of shitty people.
There's a lot of shitty people, and then there's also people that like are being accused and they didn't do anything.
Right, because there's some good people in it too.
We could talk about those.
We could just talk about shitty people.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea, because that could lead us down a really bad road.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But it is an idea.
So if we decide to have like a whole episode where we talk about how shitty of a person Logan Paul is, for instance, like right. We do run the risk, because like, you know, of being seen as like clickbaity, you know,
right?
Because then we have the option to be able to put Logan Paul's name in the title of our podcast episode, and even maybe do a hashtag Logan Paul.
Well, the biggest danger there is that if we get known enough, and we do an episode about Logan Paul, then Logan Paul's going to be like, you need to put me on your podcast because we're clearing this up. Or he might do a like cease and desist. I don't know. There's legal ramifications that we're not really...
It's the legal things that's a problem. If he wants to challenge me to box him, then I'll either just decline or let him kick my ass for funsies, and we'll make a bunch of money. I don't
recommend the second one there.
I don't really like... I mean, that's kind of what Logan Paul's been doing, is bringing a lot of people into the boxing.
Yeah, but you can just say no.
I probably will say no. I've been watching a lot of American Ninja Warrior recently, so I might have a big head about stuff now.
Like I think somebody challenged Charlie, Penguin Zero.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, yeah, I know you will beat my ass. I don't need to step in the ring for you, to accede to you being stronger than I am."
Moist Griddle made a couple of videos about that. One of them being like, people keep telling me that like I need to get into the ring and fight people, but like, why?
Right.
Why would I do that?
Right.
Yeah. I'm the sort of dude that's like, you want to have? I mean, let's go have some fun. I don't care. Beat the shit out of me. It'll be great. It'll be fun. I'll be fine. So I'll recover from it. That's just who I am.
Jesus. I don't know why my throat's doing this so bad.
We can do a pause if you want to.
It's fine. It's just going to keep doing it.
Okay.
Anyway, it's probably from allergies or something. We can go along that same line and just kind of talk about the entertainment industry. Like we consume a lot of entertainment, so we can try to like we can try to keep up with Penguin Zero or the random stuff, and we can kind of do like the Daily Show kind of shit. It's just like we just randomly bring up things, and the things that we bring up have their own goal to do. Like I forgot what is it, the Daily Show that did the thing on chocolate lately?
Oh, I don't know.
A couple of days ago.
I haven't seen a lot of Daily Show.
The goal of the whole episode was just to inform people about how if you eat chocolate, you are likely unknowingly supporting child labor.
No.
Like it's so rampant in chocolate farming that like that's just kind of the thing, and we all just either don't know about it or just accept it as that's the way things are. And they talked about the specifics of it, and I think their underlying goal was really just to kind of shove like these 4 or 5 different chocolate companies under the bus to be like, you account for 25% of all chocolate sales worldwide. Y'all have the power here, okay? You should be embarrassed that you aren't doing enough.
Yeah. That's also, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
That's what it was. That's what it was. It wasn't the Daily Show. It was Last Night Tonight.
Last Week Tonight.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, John Oliver's show does that stuff, and that's hilarious and good stuff. I don't know that we're gonna, because John Oliver's got
he has writers
huge team of lawyers.
I'm not saying that we do it to that degree. I'm just saying like we pick an issue and then we talk about it.
Sure.
We don't have writers to go doing all that digging, so it's gonna just be our information. And I'm not doing hours worth of homework to write a full episode, but I think we can be like, okay, well, what's happened this past week, and then we just talk about what happened in the last week, and like whatever comes up is what comes up.
Sure. We might need to decide whether or not we're gonna have boundaries on that, because like a lot of the content I paid attention to like a little bit more than the last couple of days, like a week or two ago, was Palestine. Yeah, it was all Palestine, Israel.
I think that has its place too. If we did an entire episode on Palestine, then that's what happens,
Yeah. And, we can always justify anything as being raising awareness because we're putting information out there.
The point to the podcast is vulnerability.
So it's how we feel about stuff.
Yeah. Unabashedly.
Which means we might fight about stuff.
Yeah, we might.
I can't wait. Be great.
So those are some of the ideas. I think my favorite one is the talking about whatever we noticed in the last week, like whatever, like the Last Week Tonight kind of idea. I like their format. It's a nice format. I don't know that we have to be so rigid with it because we don't have a team.
No.
We can just kind of Howard Stern it and be like, we're just going to talk about the things that we remember. Maybe we'll write down a couple of notes through the week of like, I want to bring this up, but no real solid like script or anything. Keeping it raw,
Yeah, absolutely. And having these other ideas is also it's very like Good Mythical Morning, where we might occasionally do a Truth or Dare episode, or we might occasionally do a deep dive on fucking some more news with Cody Johnston, and stuff. So like anything we might decide to pick out. So that's a cool idea, and that way we will always be able to default to let's just talk about the last week and what we've been going through.
That's my favorite one so far. But, we have some time to think about it and to come up with ideas. Nothing's set in stone.
Yeah.
Man. You seem pensive.
Cool. There's some imposter syndrome that's going on. Like it feels...
Oh, like we aren't big enough to do stuff like that.
It's just that like I feel personally like it's ambitious of me to believe that I have the gumption to actually be a part of anything like that, and that's just my own crap that I got to deal with inside my head.
Like, what is it? Because you don't feel like you deserve to be listened to? Like you don't think that your opinion's important enough for anybody to care?
Well, just to an extent, that's part of it, certainly. It's also just that, like, I feel like I have to have some element of feeling like I'm important to be able to be on a show that's doing a funny thing, like a Truth or Dare sort of thing. And while in regular life, I'm pretty good at going along with stuff, at yes-anding, and just going along and everything like that, but I'm very concerned that when it comes down to it, I won't be able to yes-and it. That I'll just be the stick in the mud that prevents the show from moving forward somehow. Because my brain will just be like, nope, we're not doing it.
Well, that's content too.
I know. It totally is. I've seen shit like that. Like, do you mind if I talk about some content?
No, go ahead.
So I don't know how much you paid attention to the people in the periphery around Hassan Piker, Hassanabi.
I try not to. I mean, I like him as a person, and I agree that his content is worthwhile to watch for some people, but it just makes me anxious and angry, and I don't want to live that kind of life. So
makes him anxious
stay
and
away
angry
from
too.
it.
Makes him anxious and angry too. But I'm not just talking about like.
But I respect the fact that he does what he does, and I think that what he does is a necessary service.
One of the groups he's kind of somewhat a part of is the Cutie Cinderella, I think is her name, and the real popular dude I can't remember the name of right now. Goddamn. Anyway, they did a whole, like, for the last couple of years they did this whole big getaway where they a whole bunch of Twitch streamers and some YouTubers go to a resort that they rent out, and then they do a bunch of games and shit like that. I can't remember what it's called anymore either. But like, it's just them doing the best they can to like make interesting content, and they've all been in front of a camera putting out content for years, for hours a week for years, but it's still just like you and me doing a Jeopardy, you know what I mean? And watching that kind of stuff gave me a lot of hope that like it doesn't matter what your skill level is, you can put on anything and it be good as long as the people that are in it to have fun. And I just, for some reason, have this worry that, like, as soon as we get into it, my brain's just going to be like, nope, I don't want to have this fun.
I love the voice, too.
Thanks.
I miss your voices. You used to do a whole bunch of voices.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Then you just stopped. I have a feeling it's because of that one voice that really bothered me.
No, it's actually, I mean, do you want to know what's going on?
Sure.
Actually, because I don't know that this is for sure, but this is the idea that I have. for some reason, once I started considering the idea of creating content myself, then like I started like putting all of my performative silly things that I did around the house like on hold. Like I'm saving it for performing it. But then it just builds up to all this pressure to actually do some sort of performance that I don't have to perform anything, and so I've just kind of like stunted myself for no reason. And I don't know why. Backwards. Probably.
Like Jim Carrey, his whole thing was like to always be in performance mode. Just do it all the time, everywhere. And now that he's, you know, all successful and moderately wealthy, he has seen a more enlightened view where he is kind of weird sometimes, but like in a good way.
Well, I like it.
I like it, but I know a lot of people are all like, "Oh, it's." You know, they're put off by it, but I don't know. I'd love to sit down with him and just have a coffee or something with him. Probably not coffee. I can't handle coffee, but whatever.
Well, fucking Jim Carrey shaped the humor of a generation in the fucking 90s. Like, just the two Ace Ventura movies and The Mask alone,
right?
Were
and what was it? Fire Marshal Bill.
Oh, I didn't even see that shit. I mean, I was vaguely aware of In Living Color. Yeah.
Wait, was that In Living Color? I thought it was Saturday Night Live.
I'm pretty sure Fire Marshal Bill was from In Living Color, but it was. I mean, In Living Color was just a slightly less successful Saturday Night Live.
Actually, it was more successful. It was just black themed, so white people didn't see it.
Was it more successful at the time?
I think it was. Well, from what I know, I thought it was more successful in its time. But it wasn't successful overall, and Saturday Night Live still exists. So obviously, it technically was less successful. But there was a time when more people were watching In Living Color than were watching SNL.
But I do think that Jim Carrey never really did the whole SNL thing. I think that Jim Carrey did.
I think you're wrong. I think he did SNL. I don't think he did In Living Color.
Okay.
But I don't remember. I don't remember. I watched them both.
So
I got them confused for the longest time.
Maybe when we talk about this stuff, we should start also like Googling shit too. No, you don't have to Google it now, but like maybe we can practice.
I mean, it's right there.
Sure, why not?
Fire Marshal Bill.
In Living Color.
It is In Living Color. You're right.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
10
so
points.
That's probably part of why it was more successful during that time. I think because Fire Marshal Bill was hilarious.
Yeah.
Just look at him. He's looking so silly. Okay. But my point was like there was a point where he did an interview, and he basically explained he was still married at the time. He basically explained that like he never shuts off. Mm-hmm. He was just like that all the time because every moment was a moment that he could be making somebody laugh and honing his craft. Like that was just who he was. I think maybe doing it all the time might have been a bit excessive because I think he lost his marriage partially because he couldn't turn himself off and just be a regular person sometimes.
Sure.
And he went down a pretty dark road, and then like I feel like he's a lot more enlightened and a lot more balanced as a person now, but I don't know him personally.
Yeah, who knows, man? comedians go through a
rich
real interesting.
Rich people are weird, and he's a rich person now. Like
he's both of those things.
He's both of those things. Who knows what happened to him from all of those experiences? But
I'm never gonna be safe. I'm never gonna feel safe about a comedian because
I know
Robin Williams. So
yeah, I know. We got Robin Williams on one side, and what the hell is his name? Redheaded guy on the other.
What you mean, Louis C.K.?
Yeah, Louis C.K. on the other.
Oh, just being a gross...
just not realizing that masturbating in front of your fans isn't appropriate. Like who?
Coworkers. Those were almost coworkers.
I thought they were just fans.
No, they were up and coming comedians whose careers I think were ruined, but maybe they're back. I don't know.
What has to go? What do you have to go through in order for you to get to a point where you feel like that's okay? Like I don't know. So you got people are weird in general. Like just regular people are weird, but like you give them money or you give them fame or you give them some kind of status, and they get weirder.
Sure, absolutely. I agree.
So I don't know how much of him being, on all the time as a comedian was fed into that.
Right.
But
Also, I was just to clarify here, I was talking about like suicide. That's what I was talking about.
That's fair.
Yeah. So both paths still terrible. You know, like all of a sudden they turn into, oh, you've been grooming women for the last 25 years. Fuck.
I guess I should say on the other side of the spectrum isn't quite Louis C.K. He's not all the way. All the way on the other side of the spectrum is Bill Cosby.
Right.
Because we grew up with that, thinking that this was a safe person, that this was a safe voice and face that was recognizable anywhere, and then suddenly we realize, oh, he raped a bunch of people.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I brought I was in a public speaking class in high school, my senior year of high school, and I brought part of Bill Cosby himself to that, and like showed bits of it to have an example of stand-up comedy, and
and now you feel gross.
Feel pretty embarrassed about that.
Yeah.
Now. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But not that it really fucking matters. I wasn't showing it for like horrible purposes. I was just talking about the comedy, and he did do the comedy.
He did do the comedy.
I feel like I'm one of the very few people that out there that says still have the ability to separate art from artist. Like, I still
it's hard.
It is. I have a hard time watching. I haven't tried in a while, but I would have a hard time watching American Beauty right now. One of my favorite movies from when I was in my 20s.
What is that?
Because Kevin Spacey's a fucking horrible dick, and used the accusations of him being sexually inappropriate with underage boys to say, I am gay. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy so hard, and not in the ways that he wants it to be done. And that show was about fucking high school kids, not about fucking high school. Well, it was kind of about fucking high school kids, but there were high school kids on that show, and so it is almost certain that he was inappropriate with people in that movie. So watching that movie is difficult for me, but the feelings that I had about the movie, about the writing, about the characters, about what they went through, those are not the same as the horrible people that are in there. You know, Louis C.K. made some jokes that I laughed endlessly about because they were very good at being able to put a focus on something that not many other people did at that time in a certain way that just made me laugh, because I love looking at bits that no one else is paying attention to or pointing at. That's entertaining to me endlessly. But yeah, listening to Louis C.K. bits is going to be difficult because I'm like, this is a dude that like kind of lost himself in fame enough to think that it's just totally cool to do this without asking for consent first. Yep. You just ask. If you just ask, hey, would it be okay if I masturbated in front of you? People will happily say no. Please don't. Now, if I'm wrong and maybe he did ask those two ladies consent and they were so concerned about their careers that they said yes, then please take back what I said. My bad.
Yeah, consent is hard. It's a weird area, and it's really just best to err on the side of no until there's an explicit, definite yes that you are like, are you absolutely sure? Because you could have a way out. Like,
right. Yeah. There's a power struggle here also, so please be honest. Whatever.
Right.
Sorry, I took it to a dark place. It's kind of what I do.
Well, vulnerability goes all sorts of places.
It does. It does indeed.
I think that's an important area, and I think a lot of people are afraid of it because they are worried that it will go to dark areas. Mm-hmm. And I think it's okay for things to get dark because the sun will come back out, man. We're still revolving around the sun, and just because the moon's up right now and it's dark doesn't mean that the sun's not going to shine again tomorrow. So.
Absolutely. And I think that you and I will remember to, as you said once, take a breath, I think is what you called it.
Well, it's what Dr. K...
Coming up for air.
Coming up for air.
Yeah, that thing. We probably should do that every once in a while if we're getting too deep.
Yeah.
But shifting gears back to what we were talking about with the podcast and the directions of it.
Right.
One of the benefits to what we were doing is that we didn't have to discuss what are we doing next week.
That was a benefit. You are right.
Because we just knew.
But, if we go with my favorite idea of just talking about what we talked or what came up in the last week, we don't have to have that conversation either. We can just be like, what did you come up with?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's talk about what you remember from the last week.
But I think it's important on the previous podcast, we do talk about what we're going to do next week. Are we just going to do what we've come up with for that week, or are we going to try and do 2 episodes of Erased, or are we going to try and deep dive into something?
Yeah, we will have to figure that out for the next one. Mm-hmm. Or 2 or 4, I don't know. Mm-hmm. So on that note, this is probably a good segue into the closing to appeal to the people listening. What do you think? I'm going to make an article on Medium, and I'll link to that in the description. But I would like to have people's opinions about what they think that we should do with the next episode. I don't know if people care what we do, and if they don't, we'll just grab bag, figure out what it is that we want to do in that moment, and just do something. We may just decide to scrap it and not do an ending for it at all, and then it'll just be this mystery of like what happened. Mm-hmm. And people will have to just go watch the anime, and that's fine.
That's fine, absolutely.
So I don't know if nobody puts any input in, we'll just decide next week what we're doing.
Well, let's say for right now, our plan is that we're just going to talk about the week. We're just going to go ahead and we'll slide right into our relaxed backup. We'll just talk about what's going on in the week. And maybe we'll be heavily inspired to do something specific next week instead. And that's totally fine if it happens.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's a good way to go about it.
All right.
Okay. So, do you think we've completed our episode of the Hidden Egg podcast for today?
I think so.
We did a good job. Do you want a high five?
Right. Probably do the ending before doing
Okay. So I just want to say real quick that we appreciate any engagement that you all do wish to engage with us with. It's very much appreciated. It's not required by any stretch. We want you to be happy and comfortable. There are ways to support the show too. With that, whatever. Do we still have that stuff going on?
Yeah, we still have some merch stuff. I'll link to it if you want. I meant to create a new thing for my friend because she wanted a specific type of shirt. And I just got too busy to do it. So maybe I'll actually get that taken care of by next week. Who knows? We'll see. I have stuff to do next week. So I might not. It might wait longer.
Okay, so in the associated,
but there is merch there.
In the Associated Medium article, you can see ways to support the show. You are not required to support us in any way, shape, or form. We appreciate it, but please take care of yourself and your loved ones first, both monetarily and with regard to mental health. Anything else you want to?
And physically.
And physically, sure. Silly bodies. Anyway, anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, well. Thanks again, everybody. You're lovely. I'm happy you're listening. My name is Eternally Mortal, and I hope you find smiles this day.
And I'm the Accidental Monster. You can find us both on medium.com and follow yourself, always.